Hi there, it's the fourth Sunday of Easter. It's sometimes called Good Shepherd Sunday, and it's also in my country Mother's Day. And I'm going to share my sermon for the day. I don't normally look at all of the readings, but today I've been looking at all the readings, and so it's Acts chapter 9, verse 36 to 43, and Psalm 23. You could just look up on YouTube, look up The Lord's My Shepherd, and you'll find like a very popular hymn version of that comes from the Scottish Psalter. And then Revelation 7, 9 to 17. And the gospel reading is John 10, 22 to 30. So feel free to pause, have a read or a listen to those, and then start up again. So I want to start with the reading from Revelation, where we have words from the ancient church from a time when Christians had experienced a great trauma, because they could remember that many Christians had been executed in the reign of the Roman Emperor Nero, because he had blamed Christians for the fire of Rome. Many people believed that Christians were enemies of Rome because they didn't worship the emperor like most subjects did. But in the reading from Revelation, we get this vision of the heavenly court, and we can see that the empire's violence has not stopped those people. They're still there behind the scenes, these martyrs, in the heavenly throne room, still worshipping their master and their God, still worshipping the one who was also executed by Rome. They've followed him even though following him has led them to die at the hands of the same powers. And now Jesus, who knows the kind of suffering that they've been through, is being described as a sacrificial lamb. He's going to be their shepherd, leading them and caring for them so that they don't need to worry anymore about what they'll eat and drink, whether they'll find shelter and safety. Even though life is hard and the world is frightening, Jesus is with them, caring for them, providing comfort after all that they've been through. This hope of comfort in the afterlife is clearly inspired by the words of the Jewish Psalm 23, which is included in the first part of the Christian Bible. These words have often been comfort to people in times of trouble. We don't always know what's going on in our lives and in the world, but these scriptures say that the Lord knows the way and is leading us onward, like a shepherd leading sheep to green pastures and clear water. Even though we might be frightened by the reality of suffering and death, we're reassured that God is walking with us through all the difficulty, and that there's still good things to be enjoyed, even though life is hard. And he does something a sheep farmer would not normally do for sheep. This is a bit strange. The people who want to eat the sheep would expect that the shepherd might serve lamb for dinner, but instead the shepherd invites the sheep to the table and waits on the sheep. Instead of butchering the sheep, he keeps the sheep as an honoured guest in his home. He welcomes the sheep into the family, into the household. Even though life is hard and the world is frightening, God is with us, welcoming us and caring for us and providing comfort. This image of the shepherd was also used a lot in the ancient world to talk about leaders, as a symbol for leaders, especially kings. And so it's not surprising that Jesus might bring up the image of a shepherd when the Jewish leaders ask him if he's the Messiah in the gospel reading. The hope of the Jewish people had been that God would send a king who would liberate the people from foreign occupation and defeat their enemies, and would lead the nation into greatness, so that the world would flock to Israel and learn how to live the good life that God had shown them. In a sense, they were wanting somebody to come and make Israel great again. And it's important to note that they are asking this question at the festival of dedication. That's what we might know as Hanukkah, the time in the Northern Hemisphere's winter when Christians also celebrate Christmas. It's the time when Jewish people remember the dedication of the temple after it had been ruined by foreign occupiers, the successors of Alexander the Great. The Maccabees, who were a Jewish priestly family, had led a rebellion against the foreign powers that were occupying them, and they had taken back the city of Jerusalem and the Jewish temple, and they had also killed many Jewish people who they believed had not been true to the faith. And they'd rededicated the temple. They'd brought back what they saw as true Jewish worship. And the Maccabees had established themselves as kings of a new Jewish state that lasted for about 100 years. So when these Jewish leaders are asking the question, are you the Messiah, at a time when their people are remembering previous messiahs, previous kings who have fought against colonial oppressors, it's a little bit of a difficult situation for Jesus, because if he says yes, that means he's kind of saying that he is a threat to the Roman state. He doesn't really give them a straight answer. Well, he says that he has answered the question, but they haven't believed it. He talks about himself as a shepherd, just like kings had been described as shepherds. He's saying he is a shepherd, but they're not his sheep. So they don't see him as a shepherd. They don't believe he's a king. He's ruling for those who know who he is. And he's providing everything they need. He's leading them. He's showing them how to live. He's protecting his flock. Even though the world sees the emperor or the king as being in charge, for his people, it's him that's in charge. Even though life is hard and the world is frightening, Jesus is with them, caring for them and providing comfort. And we're called to represent the care of the Good Shepherd in the world. That's what Tabitha does in the book of Acts. She cares for the people in her city who are most vulnerable, the widows, women who had lost their place in the household system of that time. Because to be cared for, you had to make sure that you were part of a successful household. The death of your husband could mean that you lost your place in the household system and you no longer had anybody to care for you or anywhere to belong. But what Tabitha has done in the church in her town, by caring for the people who have been neglected and forgotten, who don't have a place anymore, is she's created a new kind of family, a new kind of household who she cares for. And she's called a disciple, just like the people in the Gospels who had just been following Jesus from the beginning. She's being presented to us as somebody who demonstrates the way of Christ. We're called not to just care for our children and our mums, like we're reminded to on this day, but also for folks who feel like there's no place for them in the family, for folks who have lost their mums, for people who've lost their children, or people who are a long way from their family. Even though life is hard and the world is frightening, God's Spirit is with us, caring for us, providing comfort, and leading us to pass on the care and comfort that we've received.